Today we're going to talk about monitors, more specifically stock trading monitors. I have a couple examples here. We'll kind of go over what they are, what makes them different, and what you actually need to trade. So looking at the monitors I have today, we have a Dell U2410 over here. This guy is probably, I don't know, 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 years old. And then I have a couple new models over here. This is a Dell U2415 and an Eizo EV255. Wonder if you can get the common theme here in the model name. They're all 24-inch monitors. Personally, for me, running multiple monitors, I love the 24-inch form factor, so that's what we're going to look at today. If you want something bigger, by all means, go for it. But really, in terms of what you can get on your screen, the most important thing you can look at in a monitor is the resolution. All these have a 1920 by 1200 resolution. That's slightly higher than what your HD TV is or your 1080p TV is. And what basically that means is there's 19,000 or 1920 lines of pixels going this way, and there are 1200 lines of pixels going this way. So if I had a 1080p TV, it'd be 1920 still across the top here, but it'd just be 1080 down, so it'd be a little shorter monitor. It wouldn't be quite the same viewing area. You can go higher than that if you go to like a 4K monitor or something like that. It's basically the same resolution as like 4 of these all put together. So basically what that does for your screen is everything gets really small. And that's when you might want to look at getting a little bit bigger monitor. But in terms of going from a 24 to a 27 in the same resolution, you're going to get the same amount of stuff on the screen. It's just going to matter how big the stuff is on the screen. So if you're a little hard of sight or can't see things quite so good, you may want to think about going with a little bigger monitor at the same resolution. I would also strongly recommend you go with the 1200 height, as that gives you a little extra viewing height. Most of the stuff we're looking at in the trading world is going to be stock charts and that type of stuff. So the extra height is a little bit better when it comes to that. The other main thing you got to look at when you're looking at monitors is connectivity. My computer has HDMI ports, or not HDMI ports, display ports come out of it, and all of these monitors support the display port connection type, so I'm all set there. So you're going to have to make sure that you have the right connection coming out of your computer, and that also matches up with your monitor. Most high-end monitors are pretty much going to connect to anything there is out there, so that shouldn't be too big of an issue. This guy especially, he's a little older, so he's kind of right between the old standards and the new standards, so really he'll connect to anything. I think it's got VGA, component, DVI, DisplayPort, HDMI. Really, that's all of them. Some of these guys over here lose some of the older analog connections, so they don't have like a VGA or the component type stuff, but most new stuff is all going to be digital anyway, so that's not going to be an issue. So what's different about these monitors? First off, this one's not new. You can't buy it anymore. Just as simple as that. But you can still get it cheap. You can usually pick these up on eBay for around $100 to $150, and they're a really good monitor. They have a great image quality, and yeah, they just work really good and they last really long. Downfalls of, they're older. You're not getting the new warranty with them. You're not getting any of that fun stuff with it. And it's kind of big. If I turn it sideways here, you can see it's kind of a thick, big, bulky thing. Some monitor stands won't support it. I did a review a little while ago of a monitor stand, and that actually holds them just fine. I actually have 3 of these, and these are my main workhorse monitors. In terms of new ones here, this Dell here is basically the exact same as this old one over here, just newer and better. You can see it's a little thinner. Here, I'll put them right next to each other for you. You can see quite a bit thinner in terms of the thickness here, and that's mainly because this one is now LED rather than the old CCFL that this guy is. What that means is you're going to get a lot better light picture as well out of this. It's way lighter. Pretty much anything is going to support that. And also, it uses a lot less power, so that's usually a good thing too. This guy here is basically the same as this Dell one here when it comes to all that. Looking at monitor specs in terms of what the screen can do and the brightness and all that stuff, these two guys are basically the same. They're pretty much the same panel in them. This one might have a little longer warranty on it, but that's about it. And basically, when I was using these side by side, right like this, it's pretty darn hard to even tell the difference between the two monitors. I think the Dell here has a little bit larger bezel on the bottom here, but barely. I mean, it's basically the same, let's be honest. A couple of things that you are going to notice outside of the screen themselves with these is the features. Yeah, they all have the same panel, but what else can it do for me? So looking at this Dell here, it does go up and down. So if you want to be able to adjust that and not put it on a stand, that's a great feature. The Eizo does not. The Eizo does tilt forward and back quite a bit, and also rotates. So you can pretty much put that wherever you want in that regard. The Dell also rotates and tips as well, just not quite as far. It does rotate the same, but doesn't tip quite as far. So, all right, so now you should be able to see, hopefully here, what the connections and stuff look like. On the Dell here, you can see we have power, we have HDMI, we have a second HDMI, we have a couple display ports here, a mini display port in the middle. It also allows you to connect in your audio, and then USB, and then there's a USB hub here, 3 USB 2s, and then a USB 3 on the end, and there's also another USB port here. So that's it for the ports here. Pretty standard in terms of connectivity and stuff. The Eizo has a few less options for ports. You have power. It does have the old school VGA port, so that's nice if you have an older computer. It does do DisplayPort, HDMI, and DVI. So really the only one we're missing here compared to this one is the VGA port. So that may or may not be an issue to you. The Eizo does have a few more connections off around the side here though. You can see there's an audio input here. Well, maybe you can't see that, but there's an audio input right here. There's USB input, and there's also 2 little USB 3 ports there as well. So pretty similar in terms of the connections. Another feature that the Eizo has that the Dell does not is it's got speakers on the bottom. So there's a couple little speakers here on the bottom. They're not going to be awesome. You're not going to be cinema quality or anything like that, but they're more than adequate if you just want some general computer sounds, listen to some little music while you're trading, whatnot. The Dell does have speakers that mount onto the bottom, so those are probably a little bit better than the built-in ones, but kind of a toss-up, and then they're an extra cost too. So kind of basically your decision there. In terms of these monitors and their functionality, they're pretty darn the same. If you look at all the specs, like I said, and the connectivity, they're pretty similar. So what should you choose? Should you choose something like one of these guys? Should you go with the old guy? It really comes down to budget. Like I said, this guy over here on the end goes for about 150 bucks. These guys are a little more expensive. This one here retails for a little over 500, and the Dell in the middle here is closer to the $280 to $300 range. So it really depends what you're looking for. In my eyes, this Dell 2415 is an awesome monitor for the price. Like I said, it's got pretty much all the same features as this Eizo does. You have to pay an extra 30 bucks to get speakers, something like that, but that's really not a big deal in the grand scheme of things. You're still going to save yourself about $200 compared to buying the Eizo. So yeah, it really comes down to what you want to do, but any of these are going to make great trading monitors. You're not really worried about a super high resolution or a super high frame rate or refresh rate or anything like that, like you would be if you're gaming. So really none of those specs really matter. You're going to be compared about brightness, although you can, for the most part, control your environment, so that's not going to be too big of an issue. And you're also going to be concerned about the resolution. So as long as you can get a 1920 by 1200 resolution and a decent brightness, and it connects to your computer, that's really all you're going to be looking for in a trading monitor. If you get into some graphics editing or something like that, you're going to be more concerned about the color representation, but these all have basically the same color representation too, so that's really not going to be an issue. So get out there, buy a monitor. If you have any questions about one of these 3 monitors, how they work, how they connect, the actual specs, anything like that, certainly let me know. Leave a comment down below. Or if you have another monitor you're looking at that you may be, hey, would this work for what I want to do? Let me know. I'm glad to answer any questions you may have. And yeah, that's it. Yeah, ask me questions. I'll answer them. Get a monitor. Go trade. These look great.